Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Non Sequitur Nerds. As always, I am Tim, joined by Ian and our returning guest star, Keenan. How's it going, guys?
Going well.
Pretty good. Going good. At this point, I don't think he deserves the title of reoccurring guest star. Of guest star. He is just a reoccurring character.
Right.
Yeah. I pop in every now and then for guest appearances. I need a laugh track when I come in now.
Yeah, exactly.
Hang on, I got that.
Ear thing.
Never mind, it's not playing right for some reason.
Oh, okay.
You get no
Actually,
left.
mine would be like the whomp.
Oh, it's Keenan. Womp, womp, womp.
However, I do enjoy that. Apparently, I'm on high. I kind of feel like I need to be like a little like Monty Python like God cut out.
Right.
Groveling.
Well, someday when we get enough money for an editor, I'm sure they might make it happen. Or
At the very least, I'll
free
enjoy
time.
having like the like South Park like floppy head movement.
So that's about all we can afford right now.
Yeah.
Hey, Keenan. Hey, Tim. How's it going?
We'll make
Yeah,
it a
buddy.
South Park Canadian.
Yes.
Exactly.
Or South Park Saddam for whatever reason.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
So,
there you go.
but tonight, kind of piggybacking off of what we did in a prior episode of cartoons versus anime, we're doing an actual versus episode now. That's our pose.
Hadouken!
No. This is tournament edition. You
okay.
wrong button in.
Oh, so Kamehameha.
It's
There you
not like deluxe turbo. Yeah.
Deluxe Turbo FX 3.4 Redux.
They got
Yeah,
weird.
Street Fighter had some weird naming there for a while. But no, we're doing a
have
versus.
have you seen like Kingdom Hearts titles?
Well, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
What we're talking about
Well,
is
there's our
fighting
first versus. Who had the worst long titles, Kingdom Hearts or Street Fighter?
games. True.
Well, I will postulate that by saying what was it? Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance. Kingdom Hearts
3D.
365 by what was it? 365 by 2.
I think it was
Yeah.
365
It was like
over 2 days. I think
Yeah, it was like a fraction. Like as soon as you start having fractions in your game titles, you lose a bit.
you lose right there.
Yeah. It just,
But anyway, that's not that. It's like actual like one-on-one death battles.
Who would win in the fight is what it boils down to.
right.
So classic like recess lunch table, dicking around with your friends, asking,
My dad could beat up your dad.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Actually, I
I
think my dad probably could beat up your dad. Just due to the age.
I don't know. I mean, your dad likes to run into stuff a lot.
That's true.
So, I mean, all my dad needs is a simple clear glass barrier, and your dad will run right into it.
The only thing I will
true.
give my dad is that he flies into quick fits of rage, and that I think all of his head injuries have made him slightly immune to pain.
Maybe at this point. So I think it would be fitting. Those of you that are watching our YouTube stream see a little something down right here. Yeah, we have a Ua Bowl counter now because we figured. Oh wait, hang on. Ding! Ah, there we go.
There you go.
It dinged for us. So whenever we mention Ua Bowl, you'll hear that noise, and we'll have a running counter starting now. Because I do not have the time to go back and listen to every single episode and count all the times we mention his name. So for our first battle, Ua Bowl versus Michael Bay. Who is the worst director?
Oh, interesting. Okay, so I will say to the audience that as a reoccurring character, I suppose, I kind of assumed these were all like physical fights, but I did think of like non-physical fight matches, and I'm glad that we started with a like going with a personality or some kind of like ability sort of thing. So who the worst director? So by whatever standards we consider to make someone worst.
Yes.
Okay. Does it start with our own personal opinion, or do you give your stats and your logic, and then we?
Both of these directors, as of right now, so any movies that either one of them has in production, if it's not out, you can't count that yet. Just based off of their resume at this point.
Okay.
So, go.
All right.
Well, I think I can. I think I'll jump in and take that one off the bat. I'm still gonna have to go with our man Ua Bowl.
I have my finger on the button.
Okay, you got your finger on the button. Ua Bowl.
Oh no.
So I'm gonna have to go with him, and that's simply because Michael Bay took some things, like he took Transformers, he made it a blockbuster. Say what you will about, the quality of the movies. I still enjoyed the first one. Like,
All right.
I thought the first one was enjoyable. It was nice to see those characters on screen. The second one was me. The third one was decent, and then after that, it was like, why?
Why are you still making these? Now,
Right.
I will say, like, Bumblebee, which I don't think he directed.
He produced, yeah.
Okay, yeah, Bumblebee, I thoroughly enjoyed that one, though.
Yeah, but I'm gonna have to say, like, he took some of those things, and he's had some other movies, like, he did The Rock, right?
Yeah, which The Rock is dope.
Right, The Rock is dope. And he's had some other successes. Uwe Boll basically took, like, the things I enjoyed from childhood and just, like, shat on them repeatedly after eating, like, bad tacos that were steeped in, non-potable water from the middle of, like, the Chihuahua Peninsula. And there probably was a Chihuahua in it. Like, point being is like, he completely and totally obliterated, some of the things that I enjoyed.
Viewer from the Chihuahua state in Mexico really irate at you guys or sent you a message.
They sent us a very, very strongly worded letter.
Yeah. It's actually just written in, like, yips and barks and stuff.
That'd be amazing.
Yes. So, anyway,
Okay.
that's my take on it.
So my logic, I agree with everything that Ian said since I'm on the high. But I would also add that if we're going by a measure of, like, box office success,
All right.
see, Michael Bay wins, incredibly so. Like,
Yeah.
if you're saying that box office success is some measure of their skill, then Michael Bay is beat Uwe Boll by hundreds of millions of dollars. Uwe Boll's movies are, like, not only critically flopping but commercially flopping for the most part. I think any of his movies have reaped that much payback revenue.
The thing is, though, I think his movies have actually still not lost money.
They've probably been, like, profitable enough, to, like, not be a loss, but, like, to actually. But Hollywood generally, garners, like, you got to make at least, like, half the money back of the production before it's, like, kind of a success.
What's sad is I think he still does with all the tax write-offs.
Probably, but even then, like, still, like, I mean, Michael Bay movies, like the Transformers movies, for example, were probably made for, like, a few $100 million.
Right.
All the special effects and CGI and stuff, but they make, like, close to $1 billion, I think, like, pretty much every time.
They print money.
Yeah, they're huge. Especially, I think they do really well in China, for example, which is the second biggest market, really. So
Right.
So they do well in that sense, but that's not totally a measure of success. The other thing I would say too is that name a Uwe Boll like cliche, like something that you could be like, when you saw in a movie, you're like, that's like a Uwe Bollism, for example. Whereas, like, there is
casting Ron Howard's brother.
I mean, that's. Let's see. If the title of the movie is a beloved franchise and it's horrible, that's Uwe Boll.
It's like, but, like, he doesn't have, like, a directorial signature. Even, like this might be controversial because some people like him, but, like, Zack Snyder, for example, whether you love him or you hate him, you can watch a Zack Snyder movie and know it's a Zack Snyder.
That is true. It feels like a Zack Snyder.
He has directorial signatures: the use of slow-mo, the desaturated coloring, the like really super macho characters, whatever those things are. Whereas I like Uwe Boll movies are mostly just known for being like taking a video game franchise and then shitting on it, or just being bad, but they're not like bad in a particular like recognizable way. Whereas like there is the joke of like Michael Bay explosions, or,
right?
Like there is like a thing to being a Michael Bay movie. Like he almost has like oversaturated movies where there's like almost too much lighting or whatever, and then he's got like, you know, giant, you know, practical
explosions everywhere.
Times, yeah. So he has like a thing. So the fact that whether you like him or not, he has made some kind of like cultural mark where you can identify him in some way. And then he's even, I mean, I would say he's even sort of a household name. Not really. I think you have to be a little nerdy to like know him.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would say you're at least twice as likely to hear somebody know who Michael Bay is over UA Bowl. So I would say that UA Bowl is the worst, if only, not only for the reasons that Ian mentioned, but if for box office and that he doesn't have a signature style. He's just bad without even being recognizable.
Well, there we go. That was a pretty definitive battle there.
Yeah, I think that one was pretty good. So, if you guys don't mind, I'll take the next one and throw that one your way.
All right, what do we got?
So we're gonna harken back to our childhoods here.
Uh-oh.
Keenan, I don't know if you might be old enough for this
I was
one.
gonna say.
We'll see.
I've got the edge
have,
on
like,
this
baby
one.
memories, yeah.
All right, so
Now, I'm gonna try to not die with my tea this time. Sorry about that.
well, if
That
it's
was
not your
right.
tea, it's your kids trying to.
Wait, that would be the next battle. Who wins, Tim or T?
The tea. The tea always.
T
wins.
almost won. The T almost won.
Pity the fool who tried to drink me.
Mr. T's gonna win that one because I wouldn't
anyway.
hit an old man.
So,
Maybe.
the list I've got, or the tops on my list was one that I thought about this morning.
All right.
So, original generation Voltron
Okay.
versus original release Power Rangers Megazord.
Oh.
Yeah, you got the classic, like, late 80s, early 90s, multiple machines coming together to make one giant machine.
Right.
Okay.
I think, and I know that there's somebody out there who's gonna hate mail us on this. I think the original Megazord is bigger than Voltron. I think.
So you're a size matters.
Well, I'm a size queen. Well, no, I mean, so I'm just sitting here thinking, like, so from a size standpoint, I think Megazord is slightly bigger. But as far as power goes, that's a close, because like they both have a really, really powerful, like, special finishing move, and they pretty much both have the same formula. Get the robots combined together, short fight with the bad guy, ultimate attack. So I mean, I would probably have to give the edge in this one to Voltron, only because Voltron does seem to move a bit faster than the Megazord.
And the Megazord
when was the last time that you tried to walk in a polyesterine suit?
Well, I mean, I hate to say that that's what I'm basing, my speed assessment on, but I think Voltron is a lot more agile, so I think it would come down to, in my opinion, if Voltron can get its ultimate attack off before the Megazord, I'm going to give it to Voltron in that case. The benefit, or the one thing though, if it's before the Zords have formed the Megazord and before the Lions have formed Voltron, in that case, I would have to give it to the Megazords, because they do seem, at least from what I'm remembering, to be quite a bit more versatile than the Lions.
All right. So, Tim, to add to this, I very quickly looked this up. So, according to a fan wiki,
all right,
the Megazord is 41 meters tall, which in feet means that it's 134.5 feet tall.
That's it?
Which I thought was surprisingly short.
Yeah.
Voltron, on the other hand, is a whopping 328 feet tall.
Okay, so Voltron
is more than twice the size.
Okay, so Voltron
of the Megazord.
All right, so with that knowledge in mind, Voltron's got this one.
Yeah, so Big Daddy Robot's gonna step on him.
I mean,
Yeah, I would have to. I don't really have anything more to add because I don't remember. I've watched more Power Rangers than I did Voltron, so I don't have like a lot of in-universe canon, I guess, information to go with.
Okay.
And I would also try to base it off of like what types of like villains they fought, but they fought like similar villains, like giant weird like alien kaiju kind of things.
Right. Yeah.
So and like I guess that's kind of negligible. Based purely on size alone, I mean, it's just kind of like wrestling. They have weight classes for a reason.
Yeah.
It's not to say that you can't win against someone who's bigger than you, but odds are vastly
not in your favor.
Advantage if you are more than twice the size of your opponent, or if you're more than 2 times the size. So yeah, I would go with you. I would just say based purely on size, I'm going to go with with Voltron. I will also quickly add that, just like you said, I am very surprised at how much smaller the Megazord is. The Megazord
Yeah.
is huge, and yet Voltron is gigantic.
Only 130 feet tall. I mean, it's... I guess it's just the way that they shot that show. The Zords look a lot bigger than combined together, only 130 feet tall.
I mean, like, that would have to mean to me that, like, each individual, like, Zord component, animal, machine thing is not really that much bigger than, like, maybe like a regular tank, really.
I'd say maybe like a big Winnebago, bigger than a Winnebago.
Yeah, like, I mean,
If you think about it, so
can't
like
be that big.
if you want to go with the measurements, so you know the lion or the feet kind of like fold up and whatnot. So
Yeah.
you're
Yeah, so, like,
probably
your
So
back half
they're
is up, yeah.
long, but not very tall.
the feet fold up, and then you have another robot that sits on top of it that basically just kind of like flips.
Right.
So you could say that they're probably about 50 to 60 feet long. If they're only two robots tall, and they're of equal proportion.
And then you figure with the head.
Well,
so
yeah,
probably,
the chest piece is kind of wide, but the head is shorter than, like, the leg.
So yeah, so probably 50 to 60 feet long, and then the head would be give or take 20-ish. All right, it checks.
Yeah,
It checks out. It checks out.
Yeah,
I guess it's still just weird. It still seems like it'd be much larger.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Sorry.
But yeah, for having similar capabilities, that was also a good point too, of bringing up that and I mean, yet again, I think it's kind of the result of that. One's more like people in a suit kind of thing, and like special effects. One's more animated, but the Voltron also does seem quite nimble,
Yeah.
especially in size. So I think that would help too.
Oh yeah.
So what we're saying is that the Voltron would not get served.
No. Serve.
All right.
Damn.
Alrighty.
Okay.
Keenan, you got the next
So
one?
I got one. So I'm actually gonna save the one that I like the most for later.
Okay.
Instead, I'm gonna whip out. This is one that so I'm gonna tell one of my friends about this and tell him to watch this particular podcast.
All right.
This particular podcast, because this is something that I found, like, just randomly through, like, Reddit, I think, and then I brought up to him, and then him and I had like we were playing D&D,
All right.
and we stopped the D&D game for like an hour and 15 minutes to argue about this particular matchup.
Okay.
And I guess this is just like a question that's existed online for a while. So the fight is between a mountain gorilla and a bear. Who would win?
What kind of bear?
See, and that's the thing. So obviously, like, for reference, the largest mountain gorilla, if it stood up on its hind legs, would be about 6'2", and would weigh about, like, a little under, kind of like 650 pounds.
Okay.
I also think that that's, like, hardcore muscle.
Right. Yeah.
Whereas if we went with, like, a grizzly bear, they can be, like, almost 8.5 feet tall on their hind legs,
Yeah.
and weigh, like, close to, like, 1,500, 2,000 pounds.
I was saying if it was a polar bear, those are even bigger yet.
Or yeah, and those are large. So I figured that
Oh, it's a Kodiak moment.
So I would figure that probably the best gauge of this would be to do, I think, like, a black bear. I think I'm gonna look up a black bear real quick. I think a black bear is probably relatively comparable in size to a gorilla.
Okay.
But I gotta look that up because I'm not totally sure.
I mean, if I go by physiology alone, and I think about it, I mean, the gorilla, I don't know that they actually even have advantage in speed. Like, they're not
Right.
necessarily
They're not
they're
known for being
quick.
a fast creature.
right. Like, they can sprint quickly, I think.
Yeah,
But
and
I don't
they're nimble.
necessarily know that they're nimble. But they're also, like, incredibly disproportionate. Like, they're like the meathead who skipped leg day. So, like, I feel like a gorilla has a lot of upper body strength, but that's about like the end of their defensive mechanisms besides their fangs.
Right.
Bears got weight. The bears got claws, like big meaty claws, and like teeth. And I mean, they're pretty quick on land too. Like they're not.
Yeah.
Like, they're not shy.
Where are they fighting?
Okay, so I guess in my opinion, you would want to pick like just a neutral flat plane.
Okay.
Where I mean, and bears can also climb trees, but you could argue that a gorilla might be more nimble in trees. But I would just assume it's a flat plane.
All right.
Where they don't have like rocks or trees and whatever to hide in. That they're just stuck in this flat plane and they have to fight to the death. I also looked it up. I would not pick black bear because an American black bear, even a male, and this is like a vastly huge weight range, but apparently a male can be anywhere between 130 to 660 pounds. So you'd have to get like the largest black bear to be like the weight of like the largest gorilla. Okay. And I guess they're only 4.5 feet tall. And then a brown bear is significantly larger, like way too large to really be fair. I actually found that a sloth bear, which is a fun fact, is the kind of bear that Baloo from the Jungle Book is supposed to be, is more equivalent. A sloth bear is could be 5 to 6 feet tall when standing on its hind legs and weigh as much as like 400 pounds. So a little lighter than a black bear, but the right height. So I guess we could argue it would either be a particularly heavy sloth bear or a very bulky black bear. But we're not thinking of a grizzly, so we're not thinking the gigantic, enormous bears. So a bear that is relatively the same height and relatively the same weight in a flat plane.
Okay.
I gotta still give it to the bear, honestly.
The one thing...
just the defensive mechanisms that they have and the sheer power that, like, I think the gorilla could win if it got in a couple of good shots. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm kind of like envisioning that scene from Peter Jackson's King Kong where Kong like kills the T-Rex thing and turns its head into a hand puppet.
Yeah, like a
yeah.
See,
that kind of thing.
That's where I'm kind of torn because like I think you've got
the right
head. Right. You've got the right train of thought when it comes to like just the bear's offensive capabilities. A gorilla, I would say anyway, that a gorilla would be quite a bit more intelligent than a bear. I mean, bears aren't dumb animals by any stretch, but I think a gorilla kind of has that little bit of an edge to it. But I mean, you're talking, monkey strength versus, frickin', 7-inch claws designed to rip anything it comes in contact with. That's a tough one. As much as I want the gorilla to win, I'm probably going to have to say the bear on this one.
So in the context of this fight, he brought up the same points that you said.
Okay.
I will also add, like, the intelligence. He was like, well, a gorilla's really intelligent and might be able to come up with, like, a craftier way. So, sort of similar to, like, as Ian mentioned, the King Kong fighting the T-Rex. Is like it won not necessarily through its pure strength, but by being more clever and thinking of more interesting ways to dispose of the enemies. However, I think Ian brought up the point, too, that a gorilla is fast. Like, it can run very fast for a brief period of time, but I don't think it could run as fast as a bear.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know exactly how fast it can go, but I've heard the whole, like, you can't outrun a bear. Like, if you try to outrun a bear, you're gonna die.
You're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah, like, I would imagine they can probably go maybe, like, fast. 30 miles an hour at, like, for a period of time. I'd have to look that up, but I'm not sure. And I don't know what a brown bear or a sloth bear's claws are like, but I don't think they're necessarily as huge as a gorilla or as a grizzly bear's or polar bear's, probably not nearly as long, but they're still going to be long. Yeah. Let's assume that they're even like 4 inches long, and they're very sharp, like knives. A gorilla has, enormous strength. I think even like chimpanzees, which are much smaller than gorillas, have been measured to have almost like the ability to like bench press like 1,500 pounds easily. Yeah. So a gorilla is probably way more than that. But a bear has all this like extra fur and fat.
Yeah,
That
it's got that protective layer.
like even if it punches it, which is all a gorilla can really do other than bite, which even its fangs aren't particularly big, especially in comparison to a bear's.
Right.
Like how all that fur and fat. Whereas a bear, when it slashes, all a gorilla has is like human skin, basically. We just have really thin skin and then directly our muscles and our organs under it.
Yeah.
So I don't think a bear or a gorilla has enough natural protection against the bear. And the bear probably has relatively comparable strength at the same time.
Right.
And is a little more, and is probably fairly fast, if not faster. So as much as I think gorillas are super cool, like you said, and probably would be more intelligent, I just don't think they would win. And then the final point I would bring up is I found out through looking this up, because like I said, I guess this is like a weirdly popular internet question.
All
I
right.
looked up that, so like a gorilla's natural enemy other than humans in Africa are leopards. And apparently, it is not uncommon to find a dead gorilla clearly from leopard attack. But it's also about half as likely for you to find a dead leopard from a gorilla defending itself, and relatively common to find both a dead gorilla and a dead leopard right next to each other. They killed each other in the fight. Like, there's like a 50% chance, basically, of a leopard winning versus a gorilla or a gorilla versus a leopard.
Huh.
And a leopard, while super nimble, is definitely, I think most people would agree, is not as strong as a bear.
Yeah.
So if a gorilla half the time loses against a leopard, I don't think it's going to win half as much against a bear.
I would agree on that one.
Yep. I think we could probably close up shop on this one, this particular battle. Just an FYI for you viewers, I did look it up real quick. The land speed of a black bear is about 35 miles an hour.
Okay.
The land speed of the eastern gorilla or mountain gorilla is 25 miles an hour.
Okay, so the
So-
gorilla,
It's really fast, but still a little bit slower.
yeah.
Yes.
I mean, 10 miles an hour is, can make a big difference.
That's a third of the speed
Yeah.
difference. So.
Right. Okay.
There we go.
There you go. Ha, my friend.
All right, Tim.
All right.
What you got for us?
I've got a fun one here. All right, we're gonna go. We're gonna kind of riff here a little bit. We're gonna go. One is a childhood hero. One is a more modern hero. Captain Planet versus Aang the Avatar.
Oh.
A man who is made of the elements versus the master of the elements. Go.
I think some of that is going to kind of depend on, like, we're back to physiology here. Like, what is Captain America? Is he the essence of the planets, and he is ultimately like the essence of these things, or is he actually made of earth, air, fire, water, and that other thing that no one cares about?
Heart.
Because like, and I will argue with this though, that like regardless, Aang does theoretically have the ability that he could bloodbend Captain America or Captain Planet.
Does he have blood?
He has something. I
That's
don't
true.
know.
I guess you would have to. Yeah, you would have to see. Has he ever?
Does he have pine tar? I'm not really sure. Like,
Maple syrup, pure maple syrup.
He's Canadian.
I mean,
I'd be proud
Captain
of it.
Canada.
no, that's Ryan Reynolds.
Yes. Yeah,
He's
I
interesting.
think.
Okay.
Huh. I don't know that I'm really aware of, like, I can't remember any of Captain Planet's, like, powers. Like, does he have powers?
It's
like,
well, if you look at the Don Cheadle
besides-
Captain America, he can turn people into trees. But as far as cartoon Captain Planet, I think we've all said Captain America except Keenan at this point. As far as I can remember, Captain Planet,
America. There we go.
There we go. Thank you, Captain Planet. He's comprised of the elements that powers each of the rings and has full mastery over them.
yeah.
So I mean, he was created by the guardian of planet Earth. So
Right.
I would want to. I guess to counter some of Ian's points, I would have to say. I would want to know what type of foes has Captain Planet gone up against compared to the type of foes that Aang has went up against? And I'm more familiar with the people Aang has gone up against
Yeah.
versus Captain Planet. And I mean,
There
Aang.
is no war in Ba Sing Se.
It's just, and then I would also want to counter with the fact that Ian brought up the bloodbending, which I do think would be a very like key ability to just like instantly take out Captain Planet.
Right.
It's a decent point to bring up. Like, does he have like a typical human physiology where he like has blood and still need, or does he have something that circulates whatever he needs to live?
I wouldn't think he has blood per se, because I mean, while he takes a humanoid shape, I don't think he is a human.
Right. Like, I don't like, as far as I know, yeah, he's just like an amalgamation of the elements in humanoid form. So I don't like, does he even need to breathe? Does he need to eat?
I mean, well,
Yeah.
he's made of air. He doesn't.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Whereas like Aang needs those kind of things. And I mean,
Right.
if he had full mastery, and I guess if Captain Planet, and Captain Planet was always kind of a kid-friendly show, so he never did anything like super hardcore.
Right.
Not that Last Airbender ever did anything more hardcore, but they were a little more creative.
I mean, Legend of Korra kind of did
yeah, there we go.
when you know the Zahir like sucked the air out of the lady's lungs.
Right.
Air bended the air out of her lungs, and they killed her off camera.
So if you went with that logic, like if Captain Planet was clever enough, he could theoretically do the same thing and do it to Aang, and Aang.
Correct, but Aang could
If
then.
Captain-
I mean, assuming that Aang isn't like completely immediately, Aang could also then just
Bring it
bend
back.
the air back to himself. So it's kind of a fight like between, you know, this is a good one.
Very
this is a
similarly
good one.
powered people, yeah.
Yep.
Right, and I looked it up real quick. The fandom wiki, it kind of tongue in cheek, basically says, you know, the show never defines his powers, as a way for them to get away with him always having a way to defeat his enemy.
Yep.
But they do show that he can shape his structure to take on the properties of any element or material, as well as transmuting objects into other things, as well as things like super strength, apparently telepathy, and the ability to fly, which may or may not just be attributed to like an airbending type thing. So, oh, I mean that's I kind of feel like Aang would have the upper hand in all actuality. Because while Captain Planet can manipulate his surroundings, he's, as you said, Tim, ultimately made out of those 4 base elements. And Aang is able to control all of those 4 base elements. Now, especially if Aang pulls out the trump card of his avatar state, then he goes, like, beast mode, and he could just basically squish Captain Planet into effectively a diamond. Like, he really could take all of those elements and just stop him from doing anything. So, I think it would be close, but I'm going to give it to Aang.
All right.
That's a good point. I was kind of leaning toward Captain Planet, if only just because, for one, I guess his powers is so vaguely defined, but at the same time, like you mentioned, apparently he has telepathy, which is something that Aang can't do. And so maybe Captain Planet would have the advantage by being able to sort of read Aang's thoughts and then use that against him to be able to sort of predict his moves. But then you brought up, that Aang can go into his avatar form, which arguably makes him more powerful in the fact that Captain Planet is made of the very thing that Aang can control. Whereas Captain Planet can't control Aang's body. He can just control his surroundings. Theoretically. And that's assuming that, of course, Aang is powerful enough. But for all intents and purposes, we could assume that they're of similar power level. So, yeah, I think I'm going to go with Aang. I think Aang, but close. I will agree. I think it's close.
All right, there we go.
Well,
I think that one would be a pretty close fight. I mean, I didn't think of, when I was thinking of this one, I didn't think of Aang's avatar state. I think if it came down to that, where I mean that kind of like Aang has mastery of the elements, but when he goes into that, that's like Goku going fighting somebody and going Super Saiyan. I mean it's a whole nother level.
It's the Avatar version of Ultra Instinct. Just
I mean, exactly.
10 years before Super.
I mean,
So-
pretty much.
So apparently Toriyama copied Avatar.
Dude, Toriyama copies everything because he forgets that he saw the thing. He forgets about his own
Exactly.
characters.
Which is the reason why Launch wasn't in Z.
Because he completely forgot about her, and he's like, oh, whatever happened to her?
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
you're next, Ian. What do you got?
Yes.
Yeah. So I've got my list, and I'm gonna kind of go through it. So I'm gonna do kind of a fun one here
Okay.
for you guys. So Ash Williams from Evil Dead
Okay.
movie
Okay.
versus Tallahassee from Zombieland.
Ah.
Oh, okay. Are they? They're
So
fighting
that's
each
Woody,
other.
that's Woody Harrelson's. Yeah. Woody
Yeah,
Harrelson.
they're
Correct. Yeah.
Yes, Woody Harrelson. They're fighting each other.
Okay.
They each have the main weapons at their disposal. So
Okay.
Ash has his boomstick and his chainsaw.
Okay, so it's like
And Tally-
so it's like Army of Darkness.
Yeah, Army
Alright.
of Darkness Ash, chainsaw hand and boomstick, and Tallahassee has his his rifle and we'll say pistols.
Okay.
Okay.
And we're gonna go with an urban setting
Okay.
because that's
Okay. Because
tends
that's
to
kind of
be
both
where
where they
they-
are. Yeah.
yeah, that tends to be where they generally fight.
Okay. Oh man, that's.
That's
What kind of rifle did Tallahassee have? It's been a while since I've seen it.
I believe Tallahassee. Well, he cycles through weapons quite a
Okay.
bit in that show,
Right.
but I think he just had standard long rifle. I
Okay.
couldn't tell you what it is. I'm assuming
Yeah. It's been a while.
Yeah.
something
Um,
relatively high caliber, but
he have-
he does also.
I mean, I feel like we do kind of. I mean, even if it's a rifle, kind of where I'm initially going is
Yeah.
that I think battle depending on the range, especially
Yeah.
for urban setting. If it is a longer distance battle, Ash can't do anything. He's got
Yeah.
a shotgun that
And a
is
chainsaw.
and a chainsaw that's effectively useless beyond like 30 feet, really. Whereas Tallahassee, if he's got even like a M4 type of assault rifle or something, it's effective at a much further range.
I mean, even if it's just a hunting rifle, that's still going to give him
Yeah.
the range advantage. If it came down to like a close quarters fight, I'd give it to Ash every single time. I mean, just because his loadout here is designed for close quarters. He's designed to get in close, blow something set off with a shotgun, cut something else in half with his chainsaw. I mean, he's literally fought, the armies of the damned. I mean, which I would put at a higher tier of difficulty versus
Yes.
zombies.
I was just gonna say that. Yeah, Tallahassee's dealing with the stereotypical zombies, slow, brain dead. Just moving on instinct. They're not like like 28 days later,
Well,
like really fast zombies.
Remember though, they did
Deadites are
say
fast.
they did say though in Zombieland, whatever that rule was, do cardio because the zombies aren't necessarily like the rage. They're not rage virus zombies from 28 days later, but they are still quicker.
Okay, yeah, that's true. And I mean, I guess some of them do run because they're not like totally decayed.
Right.
But they don't have the capability to, apparently at least, capability to jump and things like that, like
Yeah.
Deadites seem to.
Deadites are functionally demons. They're
Yeah.
demonic possessed people with supernatural powers. They seem to have slightly superhuman strength, slightly superhuman speed. Some of them can transform and have like wings and other like weird powers.
Yeah.
Don't forget they're intelligent.
Yes.
Yeah, they're conniving and intelligent. They can manipulate you. I mean, they do that all the time.
Yeah,
and
they do.
that Ash is close to. So I would say that Ash, I totally agree with you that like Ash has dealt with much more difficult enemies than Tallahassee has ever had to deal with. And I mean, he has had to deal with the occasional like human survivor, but they're not as difficult as a Deadite.
I would fight a random dude on the street over a deadite every day, any day, in a fist fight. But I think that ultimately this battle would come down to the range. If it's long range, I'm going to give it to Tallahassee. If it's short range, I'm going to give it to Ash.
I think I would agree, but I would say that in general, this hurts me because I love Ash, but I think I'm going to actually say that in general it would be Tallahassee, because I think Tallahassee, since he has that long range, I think like if you were to like do this as like a simulation like 1,000 times over, that because of the range, Tallahassee would typically get that advantage. And I also just think that even though Ash has fought more difficult foes, I don't typically clever. Like he gets his moments of cleverness, like when it comes to shove. But I think a lot of the times he kind of like goes through it through brute force and kind of through like almost
dumb luck,
comedic dumb luck.
Right.
Whereas I think Tallahassee has some like actual cleverness and planning to the things that he does.
Yeah.
So I would also plan the encounter in a way that would favor him. But if
like,
the battle,
if he knew Ash was coming, then yeah, Tallahassee would have it laid out. If it was like a surprise they ran into each other thing, though, how would you call it?
if it was a surprise, like they just randomly like bumped into or they like came across each other in the middle of a street, I think, even if it was at like some distance and they came across each other in the street, while he still has the range advantage, I think Ash probably thrives better in that like adrenaline, like, I need to act and get this done kind of thing.
Okay.
I mean, and he's had his moments of where he like plans things ahead of time, like the end of Evil Dead, he like plans the like siege.
Yep.
He also knew they were coming, so
That's
wasn't
true.
And I mean, and even so, he still sort of halfway bumbled his way through that. I will ultimately say that I think Tallahassee wins more often, but I do think close range battle. I agree with you, Tim.
Yeah.
I think Ash would win more like.
There we go.
Awesome.
I would have thought of that in like a million years. That was a good one.
That was actually the last one on my list, and the only reason that I thought about it was because the Evil Dead trailer came across my YouTube feed, and I was like, "Oh yeah!" So,
There we go.
all right, Keenan, what do you got for us?
All right, let's see. What one do I want to do? Okay. Okay. I'll do this one. This was one that I wasn't going to initially do, but I decided to add it in. This is kind of similar to my bear versus gorilla in that I'm not doing characters, I'm doing real, but instead of animals, I'm doing real people.
Okay.
I'm not doing a character. I'm not doing any specific character. I'm doing real people in their theoretical prime. So let's go 80s, like early 80s for both of them.
Okay.
Who would win in a fight between Arnold Schwarzenegger and Dolph Lundgren?
Oh.
Ooh, I mean,
I gotta think about that one.
Arnie. I think Arnie has the sheer strength aspect of it. That's been proven time and time again.
Yeah, he's
vis-a-vis his numerous, bodybuilding world championship like title type thing. But I mean, as I say that though, I'm also thinking about it going, he doesn't hold like records for weightlifting. He holds, he's
records
being
for looking good.
Right, being a bodybuilder. Like I looked this up a few weeks ago or something like that, and I don't remember what the context of the conversation was, but like the most that a single person has ever lifted something was a backlift, which is basically where like you like bend down, put a bunch of weight on you, and then like basically you have to like push up.
Yeah.
It was a backlift of 6,300 pounds.
Jesus Christ.
Yes. And I don't remember. I think his name was Peter Armstrong or something like that.
Well, with a name like Armstrong, of course he's going to be
that's so perfect.
Right.
Was it from Full Metal Alchemist?
No, not quite. But yeah. So anyway, Arnie's definitely got the muscle tone and the bodybuilding aspect of it, but I don't know that he has the outside of Hollywood.
Yeah.
The fighter capability. Like, see, I don't know that he's an actual he really knows brawler fighting.
I mean, anybody can throw a punch, but I mean, especially if you look at Rocky, Dolph Lundgren had to learn how to actually box. So I mean, he's got the edge as far as being trained to at least know the basics of fighting. Like
You have
Arnold,
to assume that Arnie has taken
at least
kind
had
of martial
some.
arts class.
You're
Maybe
like,
some.
because I'm thinking here of like all of his movies in the '80s. I mean, like he did Conan, which I mean, all right, again, learning how to throw a punch. He did
Some
Predator.
basic sword fighting, maybe.
He
Yeah, so
mostly
basically-
learned sword fighting for
Yeah.
Conan.
Let's see, Predator. I can't really think.
That was
Some gun use,
guerrilla.
probably,
that-
maybe.
Yeah, gunplay and like guerrilla warfare, like maybe knife play.
Like I can't,
Terminator, he wouldn't have learned anything combat that he already wouldn't have picked up.
see. I can't think of any movie where he's predominantly like a hand-to-hand fighter or martial artist predominantly. Versus like with Dolph, like the first thing I think of is Rocky. Second thing I think of to counteract, Arnie's, Conan was He-Man. To counteract Arnie's, any other movies with a guy and a gun, Punisher. So I mean like if you're just looking at just based on the movies they've done and what training they would have had, I think Dolph's got a slight edge as far as being trained for fighting, just because he does have everything Arnie does, with the addition of an established hand-to-hand, boxing. But I mean, they're both like beefy guys if we're talking in the '80s. And I would like to think that the fight started because neither one of them could understand the other. They got angry and started. Exactly. I like in my mind that's what the fight started.
Arnie to Bobcat Goldthwait very quickly.
I mean,
Yeah, guys, I'm talking about stuff here. Yeah.
So I mean, I think Dolph has the slight edge, is what I'm gonna say. I mean, but it'd be fun to watch.
Yes, that would make a good movie.
Yeah.
To pick the only things I will quickly add to my own and what I was thinking is I also thought that Dolph would win because kind of going to what Ian was saying is I think that Arnold's and I didn't pick Arnold in like the 70s, which is when he did the bodybuilding and Mr. Universe stuff like that. So he was a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
But even for going at that, I do think that is a little bit of a glamour muscle kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was he built them up to look good, and I don't doubt he was actually physically strong. I'm sure he was incredibly strong, but I do wonder if some of it was more like to show muscles versus actual like useful in a fight type of muscle.
Right.
And
It's
sure
the difference between having a show car and a race car. The show car is going to look better, every time, but the race car is, gonna go.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm pretty sure Arnold could have crushed my hand in between my head in between his hands. Like
Right.
Just one hand palm you like a basketball. Smoosh you like a grapefruit.
Oh yeah, I'm not arguing that Arnold was strong at all.
Yeah, but
Right.
I do wonder the effectiveness of what muscles he built up. Would they be the most effective ones for winning a fight? And I do feel like that Dolph is built hugely, but in the way that you would, in the muscles, not just necessarily to show off, but to actually like use. I also think that Dolph Lundgren is at least, if not relatively significantly taller than Arnold.
I mean,
So I think-
Dolph, from what I remember, he's a pretty tall guy.
I think there would be a little bit of a reach advantage, which might help. I didn't think about the training. I never thought of that. So that was a really good point, Tim, of that, like, movie for movie, they're pretty comparable, except that I really can't think of a movie, like you said, where he's, like, primarily a hand-to-hand combatant for Arnie, where at least Dolph Lundgren had Rocky.
Right.
And the other advantage I would give is that Arnold seems, for all intents and purposes, a fairly intelligent individual. But an interesting fact that a lot of people don't know about Dolph is that he actually got a scholarship to go to Oxford, and he has a degree in chemical engineering. He has like a master's degree, and he's very, very intelligent. So I think he would also have the intelligence and strategy advantage over Arnie. So that was the primary reason I gave him the victory. But I think it would be fun, but I do think Dolph gets it just at least a little bit.
Yeah, I say Dolph. Ian?
Yeah, I'm gonna give it to Dolph. As much as I love Arnie, I think in a one-on-one bout, Dolph would take him.
I like the idea too that somehow this video will come across to both of them, and they'll come and they're like, late 60s almost, and like just kick all of our asses.
I mean, they probably both still could. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well,
Hey,
I'm useless.
aren't you
unless I have
Dolph
a stick.
Lundgren? Whack.
pretty
You're
much.
right. All right, I think
All
we're
right,
back to Tim now.
Tim.
Yes.
What do you got for us,
Okay.
buddy?
I've got another kind of fun one for you guys.
Okay.
We've got Lightning McQueen
Okay.
versus Chitty Chitty Bang Bang on a race on Rainbow Road.
Oh. Okay, so we're not only thinking of like their capabilities, but also like we're thinking of like in Mario Kart, like their off-road handling, their traction, and their acceleration and things like that. Okay.
Do they have the ability to use the power-ups and weapons of
Yes.
Mario Kart?
Yes,
Okay.
they are on
Okay.
a Mario Kart track. So we'll say if the power up has been in a Mario Kart, it's fair game.
Okay. So, as I think about Rainbow Road, one of the distinguishing features of Rainbow Road is obviously...
Wait,
it
what
has no-
version of Rainbow Road?
Oh, I'm trying to
Because
think,
some of them are more crazy than others.
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
go
but I
with Mario Kart 8 Rainbow Road.
Okay, so like basically the newest Rainbow Road.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
It's been a little while since I've seen that one, but I'm pretty sure one of the distinguishing features of Rainbow Road is it has no edges. You can just fall off it.
Yep.
I think that Rainbow 8 doesn't it have like some barrier, but there's like some sections where it's not, or is the one in 8 completely
I can't
barrier?
remember now.
I do know that
Okay,
that one
we'll
also
say-
has like it has the gravity.
The gravity
part.
things. Okay,
Where-
we'll,
I mean,
we'll
but yet
say
again-
a traditional Rainbow Road with no guardrails.
Okay.
Okay.
So, there we
Makes
go.
So, I think what I'm going to have to go with is obviously Lightning has the speed advantage. He's a race car. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang is a, like, jalopy with wings.
Like what? It's like one of those like you need like the hand crank in like the
Yeah.
grill
Yeah.
area kind of car. So it's probably like a 1920s car at best, maybe.
Let me see here.
Yeah. So, if we're going off of, if we're saying Lightning McQueen after he has trained with Doc
Right.
Hudson, I think he would take it hands down, because he is capable of correcting, drifting, and basically better managing he can control himself in a much better way. And
We got a ghost
capable-
Mako in the background there. for a
Yeah,
second.
my dog's walking around in the background apparently. I don't know what the hell his issue is.
Okay, no.
Anyway,
Chitty Chitty Bang Bang was a Ford, if that makes any difference.
But like,
Yeah,
it was
and
like
then
a
still-
Ford like Model T kind of thing.
Ford Custom is what it says. Ford customized
Interesting.
vehicle.
Okay.
So
I
it,
still
it,
think
it is
he-
not
yeah,
an
I-
established make or an established model.
Okay. I mean, if I remember correctly, he's like it's kind of long, but like longer than what you would think of like a Model T. But I still think it's like a 1920s,
Yeah, it's
like
an
probably
older
maxing
model.
out at like probably like maxing out like 40 miles per hour, maybe kind of car. But Chitty Chitty Bang Bang can also fly. And like what
correct.
is speed? I feel like it's got to be at least relatively comparable to whatever. And like, let's assuming that obviously he's not just like skipping over the track. He's like flying, but over the track. I'm assuming Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I also find it funny that I'm gendering the car. Like, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, I'm assuming can fly probably at a similar speed to maybe a little bit slower, but relatively similar to Lightning McQueen. And also, you have to remember, Tim said access to the power-ups. So Chitty Chitty Bang Bang is in the back all the time. He's going to be getting blue shells, red shells, he's gonna be getting all the good power-ups all the time. Whereas Lightning McQueen's going to get bananas and the fake boxes. And especially Chitty Chitty Bang Bang is flying, he could easily avoid those kind of things.
Yeah, but if you
That's a
go
good
by the
point.
rules of the track, like you can't like just from the start to the end. Like you have
Well,
to.
I'm saying that like he's
You have
still
to generally
flying
follow
over
the track. Like, you
track.
Yeah, so okay, you're gonna miss a banana peel maybe, but you know there's still other things that could get in the way, other hazards, and there are hazards as well on the
Sure.
Rainbow Road tracks.
And And I guess to be
you know,
fair, that Chitty Chitty Bang Bang can't fly. Like maybe he's just hovering over the track enough to be technically flying, but he could still like hit, like maybe even a banana still. Just to be fair.
Yeah. And I mean, it's been so long since I've seen Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I don't even remember if that was. I don't even remember if that car had any sentience to it or not, or if it was just a vehicle.
I think it was just a car. I think it was just that. I think it was just a magic. I think it was just a car that could fly. But I don't think, and maybe it wasn't even magical. I think maybe it was just like a part of it. I don't remember.
It's like Herbie the Love Bug was like semi-sentient, wasn't?
Yeah, like it.
Yes. I mean, it was probably possessed by like the soul of a dead orphan or something like that. But...
I mean, that's the best power source.
That's so
exactly.
dark. It was the orphan kids that the weird dude was trying to steal all the time.
Yeah, there you go.
Name the kidnapper? No, something I can't remember.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm still gonna have to chalk it up to Lightning. Just his experience with racing. If he's been through at the training with Doc per the movie, then I think he's just gonna have a clear advantage on the track. I mean, he is a racer, and he's gonna know how to handle himself. He will. Obviously sentience, but I mean, if we're taking that aspect out of it and saying that both vehicles are equally sentient, then and can control themselves, yeah, I mean, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang is going to have the ability to hover and kind of plod along that way. But it's the difference between a 1950s Edsel and a 2000 and a 2000 Camaro. Like we're talking a difference of hundreds of horsepower.
Yeah,
hundreds of horsepower in torque. So
I think the only thing I'll add is that I definitely agree. I was just trying to play devil's advocate for Chitty Chitty. Honestly, the only thing I think that could help Chitty Chitty Bang Bang is picking up the nicer power-ups from being in last. And assuming that this is just a two-car race. Other than that, I do think that Lightning Queen would smoke him for all the same reasons you said.
Well, there we go.
I keep gendering Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. What the hell?
All right. We'll go ahead and put a pin in that one. So I think I'm up next.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Also, I will add for Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, though, that the entire time I was thinking of the Ace Ventura thing.
Right.
Bang bang, chitty chitty bang bang.
Chitty bang bang.
Yep.
I love you.
Anyway. I love that.
All right, so we are going to move away from contests of quote unquote skill for this one.
All right.
And we're going to go towards contests of a more cerebral nature.
Okay.
Ivo Robotnik.
All right.
Versus Moriarty.
Like Sherlock Holmes, Professor Moriarty.
Sherlock Holmes, Professor Moriarty.
Are we going like a particular version of him, or?
Well, yeah, I was gonna say which versions, because that's gonna make a big difference. Because if you're talking like Jim Carrey Robotnik,
yeah, I was just thinking of even Sherlock, but
yeah.
Are we going with? Because yeah,
we're gonna go with
Ivo Robotnik, or we could do Eggman. We could do.
No, we're gonna go with traditional, more traditional, like Sonic Saturday, like not the goofy Deke.
Yeah.
Robotnik, who was an idiot.
Okay, so like Saddam.
We'll go with the
okay.
We'll go with the Sonic Saddam Robotnik versus Professor. I think it was
like
James Moriarty.
Yeah, like standard book version of
Moriarty. Can we sub in Radigan for Moriarty? I mean.
I mean, they're fairly similar, I guess. Except there would be an obvious size difference because he is just a rat.
He's not a rat.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, though, then Robotnik would just roboticize him.
I mean, that's true. That'd be
that's
really
true because he is an animal. Yeah.
So okay,
so we'll go with like I mean, I guess if you wanted like something more visceral, you could do like the Jared Harris like from the Robert Downey Jr. live action Sherlock Holmes, because that was a version of him.
See, I would have gone with the version from Sherlock with Benedict Cumberbatch.
Oh yeah, okay. I mean,
see, yeah.
That's better. I mean, that's a good. I mean, I don't remember that actor's name, but yeah.
Well, I feel bad because, like, he's a very well-established actor, but There's Benedict Cumberbatch and the other guy.
Yeah, there's and
Martin Freeman.
Martin Freeman's
is
in there, too.
Watson.
And I feel bad. I don't
I
remember who played Moriarty. I have his.
There's a part of me that wants to say it's James D'Arcy, but I don't think it is.
It's James something. But anyway. So Sadam Robotnik versus Moriarty. And this is just a contest of who's the smartest guy in the room.
It's a contest of winning,
Okay.
so they will win, but we're going to try to pitting intelligence against each other.
Okay.
How do they win intelligently, not
so-
necessarily how
As a fun
How you gonna-
fact, that version of Sherlock from the BBC Benedict Cumberbatch is played by an actor named Andrew Scott, who I'm not overly familiar with.
Okay.
Apparently, there is a version that Vincent D'Onofrio played, according to IMDb, which I think is kind of dope.
interesting.
Also, in the TV series that was, I think, on NBC called Elementary, Natalie Dormer from Game of Thrones fame played a version of Moriarty.
Well, yeah, wasn't Lucy Liu the Sherlock in that or something like that?
Yeah.
That show didn't last too long.
No, it did not. But okay, so yeah, standard. So Sadam, yeah, and it's just a contest of they're not. Are they battling to the death, or is this some they're playing chess or some kind of intellectual thing to prove that they're more smart? Or are they using their intelligence to come up with some death trap or whatever to kill them?
I would say they're. It's one of those smartest man in the room type things.
Okay.
With the end game of being either killing or disabling your opponent.
Okay, so it's a game of wits that all.
Well, if the end game is killing or disabling your opponent, I'm going to give it to Robotnik because, let's see. He's got the Death Egg. He's got that laser from Sonic Adventure 2. I mean, he's got literally an army of robots. So, if it boils down to winning because you're the smartest guy in the room, I don't think Robotnik would go with the easy win. Because anybody can fire an orbital death laser and take out their opponent. But you have to, that doesn't prove anything. It's like he's in the ground, you have nothing, you can't prove anything to him now. So I don't think Robotnik would go with the easy win.
No, and he's kind of that classic villain too, especially the Sadam version that slightly convoluted plan to be grandiose and gloat.
Right.
There'll be some showmanship. I think Moriarty has a little bit of that as well.
Yeah. I would, just based on the versions of Moriarty that I'm familiar with, based on what I said before about Robotnik not going for the easy win, I would have to, as much as I hate to say this, I'd have to give it to Moriarty. I would love Robotnik to win, but if he's not going to go for the easy win, I would have to give it to Moriarty. Just because while Robotnik is incredibly intelligent, a lot of his intelligence lies in engineering, in things of that nature, versus Moriarty's he's just clever. He is incredibly clever. He's quick thinking on his feet. He doesn't seem to have an area of expertise, but he's vastly knowledgeable at a lot of things. Versus Robotnik seems more focused on again, engineering's oversimplifying it, but it's in that particular field, he's got to focus on it. I wouldn't say that Robotnik is necessarily, at least this version of Robotnik, isn't necessarily clever. He's not dumb by any stretch of the imagination, but I think it's a different kind of intelligence. So I believe canonically,
Robotnik has an IQ of 300.
Yeah,
yes, and that's what I was going to bring up.
Dumb.
So to piggyback on what Tim said, and I'm also going to go with Moriarty. I think is the. And I agree in similar aspects. And the only things I would add is that despite not knowing canonically what Moriarty's IQ is, and that 300 is vast, much higher than any known person to ever be, is that he does seem to be very focused. And also, despite saying that he has an IQ of 300, he very much doesn't act like it a lot because he is so basically demented. Really, he's so he has so many mental deficiencies in that he's so angry and he's so quick to anger, and he's so grandiose and arrogant and narcissistic. He's almost bipolar, and he's got malignant narcissism and things like that. That I think and like that's part of his whole like not going for the quick kill thing. I just think that he's got mental deficiencies that would cause him to make dumb choices
Right.
that Moriarty wouldn't do. Moriarty is probably sociopathic, but he doesn't
Yeah.
do he doesn't do dumb things to be dumb. He's very, very meticulous. He plans very, very far.
Everything is for a reason.
Like thinks of lots of contingency plans, does things in a very particular, for purposes. Whereas I mean, Robotnik comes up with plans, but a lot of the times, like I said, they're like kind of almost comically convoluted. And like as soon as a piece of that breaks, he gets angry and he lashes at his henchmen and he acts in a very brutish kind of way. And I mean, I get that's like kind of a function of the genre that he's a part of or whatever, being a cartoon, things like that. But I just don't think that Robotnik acts very intelligently, despite his vast intelligence and obviously in technologies that Moriarty doesn't even have like ability to comprehend.
Right.
I think Moriarty is a very, very devious and very meticulous person that I think, and is also much calmer under stress, I think.
Yeah.
Basically every version that we've seen of him, that I just think he would win purely because I think he's got the planning ahead of it.
There you go.
So we've got 2 votes for Moriarty. So I'll supplement. We won't have to debate it further, but I'll supplement this. According to a quick Google search, they're estimating that Moriarty's intelligence is anywhere between 190 and 230.
Jesus.
So still, I mean,
yeah.
Incredibly impressive. The other thing that I would say is that I believe that you guys hit the nail on the head, that Robotnik suffers from a severe amount of hubris.
Yeah.
In that he is so intelligent that he over complicates things because he just doesn't. He is incapable of seeing things simply, and he just is so. That hubris makes him so enamored with his own intelligence that he is his own worst enemy.
Right. Well, it's kind of like I had said. It'd be one thing for Robotnik to say, "I killed Moriarty." It's another thing for him to say, "I killed Moriarty because I'm smarter than him, and here's how I prove it that I am."
Yep.
Because it would be a pointless kill for him to boom, nuke him with the space laser. Versus if he came up with a plan that trapped him, that was overly complicated, he roboticized him, made him into, his toilet scrubber. Okay, something like that Robotnik would gloat about. He wouldn't gloat about, oh yeah, I blew him up with the laser.
Yeah.
That's beneath him.
Yeah, Moriarty doesn't care about the showmanship. I mean, he was a hidden villain for most of his time. He doesn't have that handicap of needing the privilege, of needing the attention, the notoriety of it. So
there you go.
Yeah.
All right, Keenan, you're up next, I think.
Okay.
And Keenan, make it special because this will be our final round.
Okay. Great.
No pressure or anything.
Well, final round is in he's the last one, or we're gonna.
Or this is
one
like
more
we're
round
gonna like
after
one
him?
more round.
Well,
after me?
this will be the last fight. Last fight.
Oh, last fight.
Final round.
Oh
Fight.
man, I had some good ones, but okay, I will do the one that I was the most excited about.
All right, what do you got?
I'll do that one. In this one, I will add a caveat that I will allow for possible substitutions in a way.
Okay.
It'll make sense once I say it, but okay. So this is it. It is, and it's a 2 versus 2 battle.
Oh, okay.
It is Ash with his Pikachu versus Tai with Agumon.
Okay, now the first question I have is Agumon able to digivolve in this fight?
Okay, and that's what I wanted to say, because when I first came up with this thing,
because he can turn into a giant robotic T-Rex.
He could transform all the way to like War Greymon and all the other crazy things. Whereas Pikachu, I mean Ash is pretty much
turns into a bigger rat.
Yeah, turns into a slightly larger rat. I will say that I don't know. I'll leave it up to you if you want him to be able to digivolve.
Okay.
I will let you give a answer to if it's Agumon is stuck as Agumon or if Agumon and then is allowed to digivolve.
Okay, if it's for me, I think this is my based on what you said, my choices are pretty easy. No digivolving, Pikachu, because Agumon has pepper breath and that's it. Pikachu has a wide variety of moves that he can pick from, he's got him beat on versatility.
He only has 4 moves.
At a time.
Anyway, that's 400% more moves than Agumon has.
It's true.
If we're going with Digivolving, I mean, like, when he turns into, like, War Greymon and effectively does his version of Goku's Spirit Bomb, sorry,
Yeah.
Pikachu, you were a good Pokemon.
You and every other critter within the next 2-mile radius is now a stake.
Yeah. I mean, that would be a horribly unfair fight if Digivolving was allowed. Like, at least, like, if Agumon is not allowed to Digivolve, you know, I joke that Pikachu has a lot more moves. Agumon, while Pikachu is not a unintelligent creature, I would say that as far as overall intelligence, I think Agumon is a bit more intelligent. I mean, one, it can speak.
Agumon is independent.
Yes.
He doesn't act with
Yeah, and
he doesn't need to act
my
with
thing
him.
here.
Yeah, he doesn't
That's
need to
my
act
thing
with
here is like, that's my thing here is like, Tai basically says, Agumon, go.
Right.
And
he
and
can
he
help
fights.
him and give him advice, but it's
Right.
ultimately Agumon. With Pikachu, he's ultimately
doesn't
bound to
do
what
anything.
his trainer tells him to do. So Pikachu would be relying on himself. Agumon, while Agumon would be relying on himself, he has that advantage of it's what we would consider fully sentient creature with another fully sentient creature backing him up, riffing ideas off each other. Pikachu is, I will do what my trainer says. I mean, there have been instances where Pikachu will act on. Isn't Pikachu in the series canonically a female, or is it a he?
I think it's actually a boy.
Boy. Okay.
I think Ash's is a boy.
Okay. Yes, because of the tail.
Yeah,
because of the tail. Yep.
Right, because
Um,
technically they've retconned it so that female Pikachus have kind of like a heart shape
Yeah.
at the end of their tail.
So Pikachu, while he has acted independently before, predominantly he's a Pokemon. His whole role in life is to be subjugated by a human.
But
The other
also
aspect of-
enemy. Think of the other Pokemon that Pikachu has beaten.
Right.
Beaten.
I mean, it beat an
Pokemon that
Onyx.
in
I
a
mean, it beat a
typical
ground
game.
type.
Yeah.
It beat a
Yeah,
ground
which
type
should be
Pokemon by
immune to,
electrocuting it.
You would like the Ash's Pikachu has proven time and time again that it is ridiculously powerful than an actual in-game Pikachu.
Yes.
Like his Pikachu like almost rivals like some legendary.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, how much of that is like actual like power, and how much of it is like that
Plot
that
armor.
standard trope, plot armor, and that trope of I believe in you, we'll get stronger.
I think in the context of a battle, though, you have to, as much as that from like an out-of-world, out-of-universe viewpoint seems like plot armor from in the universe, I think you have to take that as canonically Pikachu's strength. And I mean, you can also add that its willpower might be able to help it overcome a more powerful opponent, including a Agumon that maybe has digivolved into even just Greymon, who, even though is vastly larger in size,
See,
maybe...
I would still give that one. I would still give that at least that point to Pikachu, just because we have seen Pikachu fight a Charizard before, which I would say is the most comparable thing to a Greymon, at least base level Greymon, and you know Pikachu did win.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, so I'm going to take it in this direction because you did start this conversation by saying, 2 versus 2.
Okay, I really hope...
What is preventing Tai from just like walking over and beating the shit out of Ash?
Absolutely nothing.
Because as Tim said,
this is where I hoped it was going.
As Tim said, Pikachu is kind of beholden to what his trainer says. Like, Agumon's a sentient thinking being. Like, Tai just goes, Agumon, go
Go
keep
light
busy.
that kid on fire.
Right.
Keep him busy. I'm gonna go around back and club this dude.
I mean, and I wouldn't put it past Tai to do that either.
Right. Well, like young Tai, kind of shaky. Like he would still probably pull a hat trick and like kick a soccer ball into Ash's face or something.
Well,
Like,
didn't he punch Matt at one point?
Yes, they did.
Okay, so
and
he's not below, or not above throwing a fist. So
correct. And if we definitely go with like teenage Tai from like the later series or the Digimon Tri series or things like that, Oh, absolutely. Like he would just go over there and just like beat the shit out of that kid. Like no, like, and it would definitely be like it wouldn't be a malicious thing, like just like trying to make this kid sake of making him bleed. Like he would be doing it in the context of your electric rat is trying to kill my fire dino. I'm like I'm taking you out of the fight so the electric rat doesn't know what to do.
Right.
So, I mean, again, you said 2v2 fight. Though the two critters are going to battle, but I think Ty is just gonna like straight up march over and just clock Ash and take him out of the fight. And I think ultimately then it'll go to Ty and Agumon, and all else fails, like, you know, if it's like a get together on two ends of a battlefield and like march out and then start fighting, I think Ty's gonna be like, yo, light that kid on fire. I'll guarantee you this fight will end real quick. Like just straight up, like it's gonna be done. Like I Pikachu could probably get in a few good licks, but you know he's not 100% with his like. You can dodge his lightning bolts.
Yep. Now, like a counterpoint to that though, like we have seen like in some of the episodes and in some of the movies, when Ash is threatened though, Pikachu does act independently to protect Ash above all else though.
Oh, for sure. Like if Pikachu does go out of its way, sometimes to almost killing itself.
Yeah.
To save Ash. And I mean, and also Pikachu has done things when Ash has also not been. I think in the first movie, I think Ash was kind of incapacitated or like not directly giving orders to Pikachu, and Pikachu was fighting like the Pikachu clone and some
right,
other.
Because like Ash was like turned to stone or something at the time.
So
and also,
I think
if Ty and Ash were getting into a fight, Pikachu has shown that he is not above electrocuting Ash.
Or Brock or other people,
or literally anybody that he considers a friend. If like you know, I remember there was one time like Team Rocket like had Ash like, oh, we've got your trainer. What are you gonna do, Pikachu? And Pikachu just thunderbolt, poof, and electrocuted all of them. So I mean, I think that like even if I'm still gonna give this fight like overall no Digivolution, I'm still gonna give it to Ash and Pikachu, just because. Even if Ty did try to start something with Ash, Pikachu would put a stop to that real quick if he saw that his best friend was being, you know, assaulted. And then, again, you know, we've got Agumon over there, who's the equivalent of a Charmander that only knows Ember. Pepper Breath!
Yeah, but I'm gonna... Yeah, but I mean, he's shown...
We'll say Pepper Breath.
He's shown to use like his claws and his feet and things like
True,
that in combat. Like
I also think
sure
Pepper Breath is a little bit more
Digimon.
powerful than we're possibly giving credit for.
Yeah.
But the other thing though is like I'm gonna play a little devil's advocate here for you, Tim. But yeah, Pikachu's gonna turn around and try to like zap the shit out of Ash and Ty, but is Agumon just sitting around picking his nose during this time? Like,
I mean,
there's an active battle here.
Yeah.
Like there's an active battle that Agumon is engaged with this opponent.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, he is not just going to be like, "Oh, he turned around, I guess I better." He's not like a Boo from Mario. Like he's not just like like he's going to like that Pikachu turns around and he's going to like pounce on it. Like he's going to take an advantage there.
Right.
Because the Pikachu is distracted. And that's the other thing that is going to possibly, in my mind, swing this battle in favor of Ty and Agumon, is that Agumon is going to recognize some of these things, recognize some of these weaknesses, and be able to communicate with Ty in a much more effective way because, you know, Pikachu's going to yell out, Pikachu! You know, Pikachu's going to yell, Pikachu!
What is it, Pikachu?
What the hell does that mean?
Misty
you have to
fell
go
in
to
a
the
well?
bathroom? Like, you gotta go take a leak in the middle of the battle? Like, I don't speak Pokemon.
I've got to take a Pika.
Right, at least Agumon speaks
Ty,
English
I've got to take
Japanese.
a dump.
Right, exactly. And so,
they did.
I mean, there is a Digimon that is literally a poop.
There is.
Yes.
There is, yeah. Well, in Digimon World 1, you could take your Digimon to the bathroom and, like, you heard them go...
see their Digipoo, and you're the...
So, I mean, there's... I have to... I'm really having to give it to Ty and Agumon here because of There's intelligence in both of them.
Yeah.
There's autonomy in both of them. They can act independently of each other. And while there is like the obvious power difference things here, Agumon is shown to be a like he doesn't quit either. Like he fights until he's damn near dead. And he's going to do what he needs to, and I think there's just going to be a more effective communication path here, especially if Ty has Ash on the ground and is beating his teeth in.
Right. See, and I think like kind
let me. Can I throw out something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I did say it's a 2-on-2. So let's assume, and this is assuming, and probably realistically, this is what it would be: is that it'd be like Ty and Agumon and Ash and Pikachu are fighting in the essence of that. Like Ty and Ash are kind of on the outside, and Pikachu and Agumon are then fighting, and then perhaps Ty and Ash then come in and kind of go. But like if it's just like appear like the human versus the human, and the creature versus the creature, do you think then who is the winner between like Ash versus Ty, and who is the winner between Pikachu and Agumon?
Well, if it's Ash versus Ty, Ash would eventually win because Ty ages. Ash is playing the long game here, all right? He is perpetually 12. Eventually, it will get to a point where Ty will either die of old age or get arrested for assaulting a minor. So, but
barring that,
Ash being an immortal demon,
right?
Yeah.
Barring that, I think I'm gonna have to give advantage to Ty, even if we're talking like 12-year-old versus 12-year-old here. Ty has shown that he is not afraid to throw a punch.
Mm-hmm.
He has shown he is athletic. He plays soccer.
Yeah.
He has. I mean, besides the way that the characters are drawn, where he's got like really chicken spindly arms and legs, like I think he has a more athletic build and would be more capable in a fight than Ash. Ash, I mean, he's gotten into some scrapes.
Yeah.
But it's always been like a Pokemon battle. Like it's always wound up being a Pokemon battle. Like that electric rat has always wound up like jumping in and deciding the fight.
No, I will say though, Ash probably has some killer calves because how many years has he been walking now?
True, he's like force jumping it.
I mean, seriously,
yeah, exactly.
He's, like if he gets one good kick in, that's going to knock the wind out of Ty. But no,
But Ty's a soccer player, so
I like the more I've listened to you and the more I've kind of thought about it, I am swinging more towards it being a Ty and Agumon, whether it's digivolving or not digivolving, because like the one thing that I thought of, Ash is a really capable fighter within the confines and rules of a Pokemon battle. Once you throw in a Digimon, there are no rules in a Digimon fight as far as at least the anime goes. It's just a thing attacks you, work with what you got. There's no rules.
Yeah, and Ash
has
to like, I know that like fire is weak against water and this and that isn't necessarily the case. I mean, I guess there are. I think some Digimon series kind of added something somewhat equivalent to that, but not nearly to the same extent.
Yeah. So I mean, I think like the more I've thought about it, I'm gonna give it to Ty and Agumon on both fronts. Whether it's the humans and the creatures fighting each other, whether it's digivolving, whether it's not digivolving, I think I'm gonna give it to them on all three marks. Just because, again, Ash is a really competent animal fighter.
He's like Michael Vick with dog fighting.
I mean, yeah. But it's within the confines and rules of a Pokemon battle. So
I will. The only thing, I mean, I thought Ty and Agumon as well. I like the autonomy thing. That was something I not thought of. The only thing when I initially came up with this is that I did kind of initially think, I think Pikachu, if it was like just Pikachu just fighting Agumon, I do feel like that Agumon is slightly weaker. But once you brought up the autonomy thing and the fact that he isn't necessarily a slouch himself, like Pepper Breath or whatever does do damage or whatever. And I mean, Pikachu has fought really strong opponents, but I don't know. I still feel like Pikachu slightly has an edge against Agumon, but I think it's close enough that, especially with Ty backing him up, I think he would win. And then I also agree, as soon as you allow Digivolving, I think it's like God to. Like, once you get up to even Greymon, I think he's defeating foes that are much more powerful than any Pokemon that Pikachu has ever fought.
Yeah.
And then Ty also, I totally think would beat up. I think Ash is like a little puny nerd in comparison to Ty. So
Right.
yeah, I do. I think he would just give him like a noogie or whatever, and it'd be done. So I do think I think that's interesting. You have swayed me to be more Ty and Agumon. I did think that Pikachu kind of had an advantage against Agumon, but I think they both would win.
There we go.
Yep.
So to recap, in the first round we had Yua Bull versus Michael Bay for worst director. Michael Bay won. Round 2 we had Voltron versus the Megazord, and that was definitely Voltron in that. Round 3 we had Bear versus Gorilla, with the Bear winning. Round 4 of Aang versus Captain Planet, we had Aang winning. Ash Williams and Tallahassee. Yeah, it was a close one. A close one.
That was a contentious one.
Yeah, Ash Williams versus Tallahassee. I mean, it
Also pretty close.
that was close, and it came down to situational stuff. So, do we want to call that one a tie?
That one I think was kind of a toss-up. I thought that Tallahassee would win more often, but I think it's close enough. I think we could call that one a tie.
All right. See, after that we had Arnold Schwarzenegger versus Dolph Lundgren, with Dolph winning. Lightning McQueen versus Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, going for Lightning. Robotnik versus Moriarty, and Pikachu versus Agumon. We had, and Ash and Ty in there as well. We had the Digimon team winning. So I mean, we had some interesting match. When we talked about doing this episode, I was worried it was going to be a lot of, well, who'd win, Batman or Superman? You know, like ironically, I had Batman versus Iron Man on this list, but not who would win them. Tony Stark versus Bruce Wayne, and who's the better billionaire is how I was going to swing it. But we had a lot of really unique battles on here, and like Keenan, I appreciate that. Like for them, like except for your last one, all of yours were either character versus character, or real person versus real person, or animal versus animal. I didn't expect to sit here figuring out who would win in the fight, a bear or gorilla, but I'm glad I did. This is a good use of my time, actually.
I liked your guys' choices because they were more. I mean, your guys' choices were pretty much pop culture icons, but they weren't. When I was coming into this, I was wanting to not pick something that you could see on like the popular channel Death Battle. Yep. Which I love that channel, and they do a super good job of like giving really detailed things and whatnot in their animations.
I don't agree with them a lot of the time, but they're still fun to watch.
Some of their choices are a little controversial to me, but they primarily focus on like video game, anime, and they think of the things that are like stereotypical. Like I think they did Batman versus Iron Man, not in the way that you did, which I think was interesting. But I wanted to, and also those are like the ones that like you would think of first on like a basic level. You guys picked pop culture characters, but like characters I never in a gajillion years would have thought of. I never would have thought of Lightning McQueen or Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I never would have thought of like Aang and Captain Planet and things like that. Like your guys' ones were like real out like within my realm of things I know about, but nothing I would have ever thought of. And I think most people wouldn't. So I liked that more like deep dive pop culture thing. So I thought that was cool.
There we go. So this was definitely like one of the more fun episodes I've done in a while, actually. Just because
it's certainly one of the more engaging and cerebral, and it's a fun tit for tat without like stepping on anybody's ego or anything like that. I mean that's what Eggman and Moriarty would do.
Exactly.
But this has been a lot of fun. Like this was a more interesting, interesting battle. So. For you guys out there, feel free to leave us a comment on who you think would be a fun battle, and then we can maybe we'll come back and debate it in a future episode. Maybe we'll respond to your comments. Maybe we'll just ignore you because we're terrible people. Whatever it may be.
Who is the worst person, me or Ian?
I'm God. I'm above such petty quarrels.
It's me.
It's Ian.
It's totally.
It's pretty even.
Yeah. So with that, I think we're going to wrap it up, folks. Again, you can catch us on all of your favorite podcasting channels. We were hosted on Anchor.fm, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, a bunch of different other ones. You can find us on all of them. You can also find us on Facebook, where we are fairly active, actually.
Yeah.
Twitter. Yes, Twitter at Non Sequitur Nerd. You can also catch us on YouTube. and where we post our videos.
Mhm.
And you can also check our website, which hasn't been updated in weeks because, again, go back to the terrible people comment thing.
Exactly.
I don't make any money off of this. I just like to do it.
It's true.
So,
it's true.
with that, we again thank our special guest for his appearance today. Our reoccurring character, making making his Wilson moment, he's also got a YouTube channel. Check it out. Some really awesome video essays, really fun stuff. So you'll have to check him out. We'll try to link his channel as well. Tim.
I have to do it. Keenan, tell us what is your channel called?
Yeah, so you can find me either just under my name, Keenan H. Crotty, or also known as Keen Man. So you can find either of those. Find me under either of those. So yeah, basically video essays on movies, TV shows, video games, music, all that kind of good stuff.
There we go.
Yep. So with that, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for tonight, folks. It has been a pleasure this evening speaking with you all and just having fun.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll go ahead and sign off for tonight with Non Sequitur Nerds. I am Ian.
And I'm Tim.
And I'm Keenan.
Hi, Keenan. We'll catch y'all later.
Hi, Keenan.
But say goodnight, Keenan.
That's all, folks.